Okay, now that you've created a simple service that just shows you how to start and stop a service, this time let's do something that has a little bit more usefulness to it. So I'm going to use the same project that I had developed in the simple service demonstration example, because it already has a lot of the code set up in here, and we're just going to modify it. So our simple service Java file, which is the main Java file, is set up to listen for 2 button clicks, one to start a service and one to stop a service. And those will be starting services and stopping services based on the MyServices class. So in the MyServices Java file, right, we have the onStart command, which in this case was starting a toast to show that the service was started, and this is showing a toast when the service is being stopped. So we're going to add some more functionality into this, and we're going to simulate a file download. And a file download might be a time where you'd want to use a service to run in the background so the user can continue doing whatever it is they're doing in your app and they don't have to wait. So in addition to making a toast here, we're going to simulate downloading a file. So I'm going to add some code in here that we can use in order to do that. Okay, so here I've added some more code after we're doing just a general toast to show that the service was started. We're going to simulate a file download, and this method hasn't been made yet, so I'm just going to create that method, and it's going to add it down here, and we'll come in and fill that in a second. The download file method is going to have a URL, and it's going out to a website with a fake file in there. And our toast is just going to be saying downloaded and the name of the file, our result, the number of bytes in the file, and display our toast. So this information, our file download, in this method is where we're going to put in some information to simulate downloading a large file. So at this point, there doesn't have to be a file there. We're going to include this information in our download file method. So I'm going to add some code in here, and then we'll take a look at what it does. Okay, so for our downloaded file method, that is going to be called when we start the service. And we have thread sleep, and what that's going to do is it's going to simulate about how long it might take for a large file to download. So the thread sleep method will pause the service. In this case, this is going to be for 10 seconds. So the first number's here. So if I change that to 5,000, that would be 5 seconds. I'm going to do 10 seconds. So this is actually in milliseconds. So just take off the last 3 numbers, and that gives you the exact number of seconds. And then if there's an error, it's going to print a message. And then we're going to, in this case, we're going to return, and this is just an arbitrary number that is the size of the file download. So this is going to be returned back up to here, and this is what the result will be equal to, right? Result is calling the download file method with this fake URL. Okay, so it calls the download file method with the URL. We're going to wait 10 seconds, and then we're going to return a value back, which is, this value is actually now called result. So it's going to say downloaded 2,000 bytes and display that in our toast. So I'm going to save this and test it in our emulator. Okay, so we'll start the service. Should wait about 10 seconds. And here we have our toast downloaded 2,000 bytes. So if I run this again, I want you to notice that while this is going on, this is suspended. There isn't anything else we could do in our application. And that's because this service is running on the same thread as our activity. So that means the user would have to wait in order to continue doing anything with the app. Okay, let's try this example to make a point. I'm going to open up my main XML file, and I'm going to add a edit text. So I'm just going to add a plain text field in here, and I'm going to save and rerun in the emulator. Okay, now this time I'm going to start a service, and while the service is running, I'm going to be like a user and trying to type something in the text box, and nothing's happening. And then I get this message. This is called an ANR message, or an app not responding crash. Now the user has options. They can either force close it or they can wait until the service is back again. So this shows you that we were trying to use the same thread at the same time, so that we were also trying to download files or simulate downloading files while the user was trying to interact with the application. So by trying to download these files, we were sort of holding the main thread hostage. Nobody can do anything with it until it's finished with it. So that's why it's important to learn how to create a separate thread for things that we want to have run in the background. All right, so I'm going to force close this. Okay, so what kinds of things should you avoid using on the main thread? First of all, anything that involves the network, any task requiring a read or write to or from the file system, anything that involves heavy processing, such as working with images or video, and any task blocking a thread while you wait for something to complete. And how do you know you're on the main thread? Anytime a method is called from the system, you can be sure that you're on the main thread. So if you're not in a thread that you created, it's pretty safe to assume that you're probably on the main one.